The choir called it contamination. They called it love. Dr. Mara Ellion had never been one for miracles. She believed in data, cold, clean sequences of logic that told a story without the messiness of emotion. Miracles, she insisted, were for poets, priests, and people who needed the comfort of explanations that couldn't be graphed. Yet as the shuttle descended through the copper clouds of Epsilon 4, she wondered for the first time in years if something unexplained might be waiting for her on the surface. Epsilon 4 was supposed to be dead. At least that was what the choir claimed, the governing scientific council whose judgments defined what worlds were worthy of attention. For decades, the choir had decreed the planet uninhabitable, chemically sterile, and geopolitically useless. But 3 months ago, a faint biological signature had been detected by a passing probe, oscillating, patterned, and mathematically impossible to classify. The choir panicked at the word no scientist wanted to hear, contamination, and dispatched Mara, the galaxy's leading xenobiologist, to assess the threat. The descent jarred slightly as the shuttle pierced the lowest atmospheric band. Beyond the viewport, curling amber storms parted to reveal a sprawling plain of obsidian stone, streaked with glowing rivers of bioluminescent dust. "So this is a dead planet," Mara murmured. Her pilot, a soft-spoken man named Halden, glanced at her. "Dead worlds don't sing back to probes, Doctor." "Neither do living ones," she replied. "Not like this." The signature detected wasn't random. It repeated at intervals that suggested intention. Choir politics insisted the reading was a glitch. Mara knew better. Biological rhythms didn't lie. The shuttle touched down near a sweeping ridge where the probe had detected the signal with the greatest intensity. Mara secured her helmet, stepped into a light storm of shimmering particles, and felt her boots sink into dust that seemed to ripple beneath her weight. It wasn't alive, at least, not in any conventional sense, yet it reacted almost curiously to her presence. Her suit sensors chirped. Biological energy source, 14 meters northwest. She scanned the area. What she first assumed was a cluster of mineral spires were actually narrow structures, organic, fibrous, twisting upward like elongated shells. They hummed softly, a chord vibrating through the soles of her boots and straight into her chest. A melody, soft, measured, yearning. Mara's breath condensed on her visor. "This isn't contamination." Halden stepped beside her. "Then what is it?" Before she answered, one of the structures brightened. The hum swelled, and something moved within it. A figure emerged, tall, luminous, wrapped in filaments of soft white light that coiled and uncoiled like living cloth. The being's face was smooth, featureless except for 2 concentric circles of light where eyes should have been. It stopped 10 steps away. Mara froze. Her suit system scrambled to interpret the unknown energy signatures radiating from the creature. Halden's hand hovered near his stun pistol. The being tilted its head and a gentle harmonic tone resonated in the air. Mara didn't understand the words, if they were words, but she understood the intent. Curiosity, peace, a question. She slowly lifted her hand, palm outward. "We're not here to harm you." The being's eyes brightened. It raised its own hand, mirroring the gesture with uncanny precision. Halden exhaled. "It's mimicking you." "No," Mara whispered. "It's communicating." The being stepped forward. The ground lit beneath each of its movements, a soft spiral of luminescent dust marking its path. Then, with a fluid, almost hesitant grace, it touched 2 fingers to Mara's helmet. A wave of warmth pulsed through her. Her visor flickered with foreign symbols, fractal patterns that shifted too quickly for any human brain to translate. But Mara didn't need translation. In that instant, she felt understood. Not observed, not analyzed, seen. The being withdrew. A single note drifted from its form, melancholy, hopeful, impossibly beautiful. It pointed toward the horizon, where a dense forest of spires extended beyond sight. Mara nodded. "Yes, we'll go with you." Halden hissed. "Doctor, protocol." "Override protocol," she said, stepping forward. "If the choir wanted rigid obedience, they shouldn't have sent me." Halden muttered something about scientists being the death of him, but followed. As they approached the forest of spires, the hum around them deepened. More beings emerged, each unique in shape, height, and luminescence. Their voices joined in layered harmonics until the air vibrated with a living symphony. "The choir really underestimated this place," Halden whispered. "They didn't underestimate," Mara replied. "They dismissed." One of the beings approached Mara directly, slightly smaller than the first, its light more blue than white. It reached toward her tentatively, and Mara extended her hand. The moment their fingers touched, an image exploded in her mind. Oceans of glowing dust, creatures swirling like constellations beneath translucent waves, towering trees with crystal leaves. A world once alive, thriving, singing. And then silence. A catastrophic event. Heat. Shockwaves. A chemical collapse. Not natural. Artificial. The choir. Mara staggered. No, that can't be right. The being's light dimmed as if in mourning. "What did you see?" Halden asked. Before she answered, the beings began projecting images through harmonic vibration, memory sculpted from sound and light. Mara and Halden stood among a panoramic display of destruction, choir ships deploying atmospheric scrubbing technology, a misguided terraforming attempt, a bureaucratic decision to sterilize a world deemed resource irrelevant. The choir called the ensuing ecological collapse a containment procedure, a casualty of scientific progress. But it had nearly erased an entire species. "You survived," Mara whispered to the beings. Against all odds. The first being, the one who had greeted her, approached again. It touched her shoulder lightly, the way someone might reassure a grieving friend. Mara felt tears sting her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. "On behalf of my kind. I'm so sorry." The being emitted a low, soothing chord and gently wrapped its filaments around her hand. It wasn't accusation. It wasn't anger. It was forgiveness. And something more. Connection. Over the next days, Mara and Halden lived among the beings, whom Mara named the Luminants. She catalogued their anatomy, culture, and communication methods. Their bodies were composed of semi-crystalline biological filaments that channeled light the way nerves channeled electricity. Their language was harmonic resonance. Their memories were stored in collective frequencies. But the most astonishing discovery was their emotional architecture. Their bonds weren't chemical like human emotions. They were literal harmonizations. When a luminant resonated with another, their frequencies aligned in perfect mathematical chords. The luminants didn't understand romantic love the way humans did. But when they touched Mara, their frequencies responded with something incredibly close. One luminant in particular, whom Mara privately referred to as Solin, stayed close to her. Solin's light had a warm, golden hue that pulsed in patterns reminiscent of a heartbeat. It learned to modulate its harmonics to mimic human speech patterns, though words were still beyond its physiology. Yet Mara understood it nonetheless. One evening, as Epsilon 4's fragmented moon cast fractal shadows across the valley, Solin stood beside her at the crest of a ridge. The wind carried vibrant particles that danced around them like shimmering insects. Solin extended its hand. Mara took it without hesitation. Warmth flowed through her, a pulse of pure emotion that bypassed her brain entirely and poured into her chest. It wasn't just admiration or trust. It was longing. Solin brushed its filaments over her pulse point. Harmonies rose from its body, gentle, trembling chords. "Mara," Halden called from behind them, "you should hear this." He handed her a datapad. An urgent message from the choir scrolled across the screen. Biological signature deemed contaminant. Planet cleansing protocol initiated. Return immediately. Mara felt sick. "They're going to finish what they started," she whispered. Halden nodded grimly. "Orbital scrubbing begins in 48 hours. Solin sensed her distress. It drew closer, its light flickering anxiously. "They don't know you," Mara said softly to Solin. "They don't know what you are. What you've survived." Solin pressed its forehead, if it could be called that, against hers. A deep, resonant chord emanated from its chest. The meaning was unmistakable. "Stay." Mara closed her eyes. "I want to, but if I don't stop them, they'll destroy you." She pulled away reluctantly and turned to Halden. "We're not leaving. Doctor." "No. We're saving them." Halden didn't argue. He had seen enough to know Mara was right. And he, too, had come to admire the Luminants. Mara spent the next frantic hours devising a strategy. The choir operated under rigid protocol. If a planet was classified as contaminated, orbital cleansing became automatic and less overridden by new data. So Mara would give them data they couldn't ignore. She recorded everything: the Luminants' sentience, their communication, their history, their resilience, their capacity for emotion. But data alone wouldn't be enough. The choir feared contamination above all. She needed to show them something impossible to dismiss. She needed a miracle. Solin and the other Luminants gathered in the Central Valley at dawn. Thousands of them, glowing like a living nebula. At Mara's signal, they began to resonate in unison. The ground shook, the air vibrated. Harmonics intertwined into a monumental symphony that rippled through the atmosphere and into space. Mara transmitted the planetary resonance to the choir. "Listen," she said into the recorder, "and tell me this is contamination." The choir responded almost immediately. Transmission received. Stand by for judgment. Mara waited with Solin at her side, its hand clasped tightly around hers. Minutes crawled by. Then, planet cleansing protocol suspended. Reclassification, sentient biosphere. Research preservation status granted. Mara exhaled shakily. "We did it." Solin's body flared brilliant gold. It wrapped its arms, not quite solid, not quite intangible, around her in a gesture she realized was unmistakably affectionate. A resonance filled her mind. A feeling, gratitude, relief, and something that could only be described as love. 3 days later, when Halden prepared the shuttle for departure, Mara stood again at the ridge where she and Solin first held hands. "I'll return," she promised softly, "not as an investigator, as a friend." Solin touched her chest lightly. A single harmonic note radiated through her body, warm, steady, unwavering. A promise in return. Halden approached. "Ready, Doctor?" Mara nodded but didn't move. She kept her eyes on Solin. The being reached out one last time, brushing her fingertips with its light. The resonance lingered long after the touch ended. "We do good work sometimes," Halden murmured. Mara smiled. "Sometimes, yes." As she ascended the shuttle ramp, she felt Solin's harmony vibrate within her, a frequency she knew she would carry for the rest of her life. The choir called it contamination. They were wrong. It was connection, compassion, survival. And for Mara and Solin, two beings from different worlds, different biologies, different forms but the same longing. It was love, and love was worth saving.